want to do it like this. So I know you know what's going down. I have many people in the past I do this with, and they're like, "What's this all about?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a conversation. It's talking slop.
Okay, bad.
That's all it is, bro.
We're here.
And what I do appreciate though, before we start this, is that we've had the opportunity to build before this. So normally, I would say that there's no direction, no premeditated questions.
Mm-hmm.
But there is some directions and premeditated questions now,
right?
Just so we can build on. But before we go there and build on anything, I generally start by just asking the person to introduce themselves, who they are, what they do, by however you feel comfortable sharing, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. We start there, and then I'll just piggyback off the back of that.
Okay, bet. Start right now. Just get after it.
Go for it, man.
All right. Hopefully I ain't squinting too much. We got the lovely sun. Just give thanks to the Most High for the sun hitting my skin right now. So bless up. I am Nyanga Uuak, out here in Portland, Oregon. You know, unceded Chinook land and many other native tribes. And so out here in Portland, Oregon, started this spiritual family, House of Jahsiri. And for the most part, the House of Jahsiri is all about restoring our intimate relationship to like our spirit, our natural, authentic selves, nature, and like the Most High. And also using the mushroom to like deepen that practice. And some folks will say like that's religious, spiritual. I mean, that's just the way we live. That's just the way I'm out here. And so, yeah. So from there, it's all about, you know, seeing if people that look like me want to tap into that feeling or reconnect to their authentic selves, just providing access to see like if the medicine does for people what it has done for me. And so that's why I'm out here. That's what I'm doing.
Nice one, bro.
Just here.
Appreciate the sharing, the introduction.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot there as well, just as far as that work that you're doing as an individual as well as the organization, and we're going to get into that. But we're going to go back, then move forward, because the essence of why this was started was just like what you said, to have people that look like me,
yeah, man,
having mature dialogues and conversations about the topic of psychedelics, primarily mushrooms, as you know, the tool technology that I have an affinity with, and you too. But prior to me getting into this space and me being a researcher, me being an individual just wanting to learn more, you do Googles, you buy the books, you get the documentaries, whatever it is, and it was not even if I was looking for my people within that, because I didn't expect them to be in those spaces, but they just weren't in those spaces, you know, and there weren't nobody reflecting me to have these types of dialogues. And since I started doing this, putting it out there, you know, I've been able to have many mature conversations with people who look like me about this. And now folks can now jump online and see, yo, there's people who look like me talking about this. So I want to go back, because I like to start with, we're having a mature conversation about psychedelics, or we're about to at least. But have you always been there? How did this thing, you know, where do you come from? And then how did this thing get into your life where it became a point where you can have a conversation with it? Simply because I grew up and psychedelics was a taboo, something that white folks did, you know, and, you know, just multiple other things. But is that how you was raised? Was it around you like that? In fact, yeah, where do you come from, man? And what was the climate of psychedelics like growing up? How did you get into your world?
Yeah, see. Nah, this has been a slow process, a slow journey. It's been like multiple levels to this journey. I grew up in Altadena, Pasadena, California. For many people out there, they know that area from like the Rose Bowl and like the Rose Parade. If you're into like college football or whatever, like the Rose Bowl is like a big football game people play. But I came from Altadena, that's like the foothills. And so there was like two different like climates and shit. You had the Altadena Block Crips, them was my homies. You had Pasadena PDLs, them was the other side. I didn't have no beef, but you know, true to the soil. And I grew up in the church. I used to go to church every Sunday. I was forced to go to church. But when I reflect back, I had the beautiful opportunity to go to church with my mom, my mom's mom, and my mom's mom's mom.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that's powerful.
And so that was powerful. That was special. So I grew up in the church. Church has had a big influence in my life growing up. even though I wasn't into like the message or what was going on, I was like, yeah, Jesus seems like a dope person. Jesus seems like he got the movement. And so where I grew up was predominantly black, besides like the teachers. So all my friends was black. I would have like one, we called him White Mike. So there would always be like one white homie in the mix. And so I grew up in an environment, and I was in the marching band. So there was like white people in the marching band, and there was like, I don't know, we want to say BIPOC, people of color, black folks, some Latinos in the marching band, but it was not predominantly white. And so I had that existence. I would have homies that were just like, I don't know, nerds or people who like music or people who just played video games. And I was attracted to like the streets, man. I had homies who was gangbangers who lived that life. So I was always on my bike. Either when I was younger, I'll be out in nature, riding my bike, going through the trails, hitting the mountains, looking for animals and shit, playing with rattlesnakes, trying to invite homies to like do the same thing with me. Or I was riding to the hood to go see what the homies was doing, go smoke some weed, play some video games, and just talk shit, you know? Just live fucking hood life. I wasn't one of the ones who was out there like riding, going on drive-bys and shit like that. But I was definitely there when they came back, or there when they were about to go there and shit. And you know, after reflecting, I'm like, man, that's some good shit that I wasn't ever forced into that, and that the homies seen value in me that maybe I didn't see in myself at the time. So reflecting back, I'm like, maybe I was this emotional support or some shit, you know, because I was always able to be around and I wasn't pressured to go do work and shit. So growing up in that environment, going with the homies, being around the homies, you know, you would always have that like hypervigilance. You know, cars be rolling by, you be peeking out every car and shit. Anybody walking down the street that didn't look, or that looked like you, but you didn't really know, you just looking at them. And so I lived that for like a while, a long time, up until I was like 18. Then I had a buddy who I was in the marching band with. He was black, interracial black, his mom was white, but he had all the shit, all the video games. We could go to his house, smoke weed from his stepdad and shit. And so we didn't have to worry about none of the fucking hypervigilant shit. And so I was able to go kick it with him. He had an older brother that went to college. He went to Santa Barbara College, so UCSB, University California, Santa Barbara. And all I knew about that place was it was the biggest fucking party school on like the West Coast.
Right.
And so, and I knew it was right on the beach. And so the brother invited us out there to come hang out, to come visit. And so the first time I ever did anything outside of smoking weed and drinking 40s and gin from time to time, that day we went to Santa Barbara. We was like, let's do some ecstasy. And before that, man, I wasn't into like doing anything else but smoking weed. It was hard enough smoking weed and like navigating my mom and shit, playing like this cat and mouse game. And you know, I was into Jimi Hendrix, Purple Haze, one of the first songs. I'm like, what does Purple Haze mean? Does it mean this weed that I'm smoking? I'm looking at this brother like, he looked like a free soul, free brother, free spirit. So he resonated with me. And so going to Santa Barbara, taking this fucking ecstasy, that shit was dope, man. Because some of that hypervigilance wasn't a part of my life at the moment. And so we were up there partying with the white folks. Long story short, I'm at like a little party after the party, rolling blunts for white folks. So they didn't know how to roll no blunts. They're like, you know how to roll blunts? Come on over. So I'm rolling fucking blunts, smoking. They talking to me, making me feel like I was special and shit because I'm the only fucking raisin in the yogurt. And so fucking one of the white dudes was like, man, you're pretty cool. You should move out here. And I'm just like, man, I ain't got no job out here. I only know one person out here. And he was like, well, I could get you a job. You should just come figure it out. And I was like, bet, give me your number. So I went back home to Altadena, Pasadena, and was just kicking it back in the streets, back in my auntie's house that lived in Altadena, sleeping on her couch, just chilling, trying to figure shit out, smoking weed. And, you know, around that time, Eminem was out too. Eminem was doing his thing. And the only thing I knew about mushrooms was he was talking about, I've been to a mushroom mountain. And I'm just like, what is this mushroom shit? And so like Eminem, even back then, you doing ecstasy, people was like, man, you on some Eminem shit. You on like, you on some other shit. You're almost like a crackhead at that point, you know? Because coming from the hood, you smoke weed, you drink, and you might get off some wet, like shroom. But besides that, you dealing drugs. You ain't taking them. And so that's a wild thing to reflect on. Like the homies keeping you on like a straight and narrow without really like keeping you on a straight and narrow. People like to talk about gangbangers like they be turning people out and shit. But when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I ain't touched no other drugs because that's not what the big homies was on and shit. And so transferring to Santa Barbara, that shit opened my world up. Just not saying my world was small, but you know, being on a corner and then being around white folks that are just like free fucking lottie-dottie and shit. That's when I got introduced to mushrooms. That's when I was away from the homies and I was like, shit, I like Jimi Hendrix. Maybe this was Jimi Hendrix was doing when he was performing on Woodstock. So I got introduced to like Jimi Hendrix videos. You know, white people got all that shit. Videos, documentaries and shit. So I got to watch him on the screen and I'm like, damn, this brother was out there grooving. But look at all them white people. And so one of the homies that I moved in with, white homies, he was like, yo man, got these mushrooms, we're gonna watch this Beatle movie and we're just gonna have a great time, gonna listen to music. And so I took maybe like half an eighth, 2 grams or something for my first time. And I just remember that shit being like the greatest experience of my life. Like I can remember the feeling right now and being outside and seeing this person jogging, running towards me, and they just look like cricket and shit. And I'm just like, wow, that shit crazy. Like I'm not nervous. I'm not looking around my shoulder. The beach is right here. I feel like I'm just loose. Like I'm not hyper vigilant no more. Then I'm like, I wonder what the homies will feel like if we all got to try this together or some shit. And that has never left me. And so, man, that shit's been with me for at least, man, my first time doing mushrooms was in 2003, I want to say. And so that same feeling of like, man, I wonder what the homies will feel like on this shit has never left me, even though my relationship with mushrooms were kind of like, you know, up and down. I was always that person where the white boys is about to do mushrooms. They're like, hey man, you want to do mushrooms? About to do some mushrooms? What you doing? You want to come do the mushrooms with me? I was always that guy. People was always hitting me up to like do mushrooms. Mushrooms led to like LSD. Then LSD, you know, you start experimenting. So I tried like a lot of shit before in my life. And there's shit that I'm like, I'm not fucking with no crack. You ain't never gonna see me smoke no crack. Never gonna see me shoot nothing or smoke no meth. So I had some boundaries. But besides that, man, I was doing all sorts of white boy shit. Just like experimenting.
So when you, after having that first experience now, and you're like, boy, you're feeling how you're feeling, and boy, it would feel blessed to have the homies, you know, partaking on this. Tell me that you went back to the ends, you shared it with the homies, and they all partook in the mushrooms, yeah? So
I took it back, and I got one homie that I can remember right now that was like, all right, I'll do it. And I was just like, shit, for real?
Okay.
And so we fucking sat on my aunt's porch, man, and it was almost like fucking Friday. Like we was just sitting there just talking to each other like, wait, you hear that? Man, I can hear this conversation all the way down the street. And we just laughing, bro, having the greatest time. Some like random person walked up to us and I'm just like, bro, I ain't never had no random person walk up to me on this porch. And like we was just tripping like, yo, this shit is tight. My little cousins was in the house. They kept coming outside like, what are y'all doing? And we were just laughing, just chilling, smoking weed. And even that was like a great experience. Like it was like tight to just be like, I told you, the random person came and we wasn't scared. We wasn't hyper vigilant. We wasn't like, oh shit, here comes somebody. We was just like, man, this is fucking random. That this random motherfucker's coming to talk to us. So that was a great experience. But like I said, when I moved to Santa Barbara, moved back, you know, I had homies that'd be like, man, them white people are changing you, man. You on some white people shit. But you know, the one homie tried it, and so yeah, that was something
That's
happened.
interesting, because that was my assumption would have been that nobody was going to receive that. So to have one
person.
homie receive that, that's
Yeah.
well, that's the work immediately being being done. Yeah, man, because I know it can be more challenging in our communities in general, let alone the hood itself. So in moving forward, how did any other homies, how has it been received? What's the current climate with, you know, this information, at least, whether people are partaking in it or not, but at least receiving the information in the hood now, you know?
Right. So fast forward to like now, I feel like I got more people of like, you know, my homies here in Portland to like try it, to like be open to trying that shit based off of like how they know me now and perceive me now, which like might be something totally different than like the people I grew up with, because they see me a certain way, and people that have known me within the last 10 years or 15 years see me totally different than the folks back home. So I got my closest homie, the homie Stanley, like he be interested. He hits me up. He's like, man, remember those microdose pills you sent me? He's like, how many do I take? How's it gonna make me feel? So I got 2 left. Do I take the 2 or do I just take it one by one? And so I'm talking to him, and that feels good to like just be walking him through that journey. But that's the homie I grew up with, shit, since I was like fucking knee high, bro. And so it feels good for him to be like, yo, man, like tell me more. Like I'm interested. I'm gonna come up to Portland and I'm gonna go bigger. And I'm just like, yeah, that feels good.
Man.
But then I got my other closest homie that I still talk to from high school. He's like, nah, I ain't into that shit. And so he's like, man, you on some other shit. And so it's still a process on, you know, not trying, but, you know, being patient with him tapping in. I'm not gonna say he ain't gonna never do it, but that's some real work. Trying to like walk him through that process when he don't even want to come to the door.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
It's a lot of pushback, man. But, you know, I'm figuring out ways, you know. We had a conversation about the music you and I, like, connect on. And that's wild, because you all the way from over in London and shit, the UK. And we were listening to the same music. So I'm figuring out ways to be like, yo, man, this brother from London, man, this brother from the UK out here, bro. Like, look at his videos, see what he got going on. He listened to the same music as us. Actually, he put me onto some shit. Remember this artist we used to listen to? Man, play this song or play this video and see, bro, because he still listens to that artist faithfully. Bro still listen to Brother Lynch Hung like it ain't like it's his fucking mentor and shit.
Yeah, man, no, I feel that.
And First Degree, so I'm like, bro, tie this in, bro,
yeah, man.
And see what happens after this.
Yeah, man, these guys are teaching the game, you know. It may not be the technology we're directly here, you know, delivering to the people, but there's different routes to this. And my route, you know, definitely music. You know, I always say, man, music was the first true inspiration outside of my mother immediately for me wanting to pick up a book and learn about myself. You know what I'm saying? Those inspirations came from rap music. And as we were saying, a lot of these artists, you know, come from certain backgrounds, you know, cultures, may have made decisions in the music that they make that people may be judgmental.
Right.
But as we were saying, there's gems in there, you know what I'm saying? And if these rappers have matured, are maturing to where they're now giving financial advice, entrepreneurial advice, and health advice, you know, we've seen that from, you know, Styles P to, you know, we do this Dead Prez, you know, there's been hard gangster rappers out here that be spitting that shit, but within all of that, there's some good shit, you know what I'm saying? That's knowledge, there's some wisdom, there's game, you know what I'm saying? So for me, that's definitely crucial to how we can communicate with our people and get breakthroughs with the homies through the music, you know what I'm saying? It's really key, the psychedelics and the music. You mentioned Jimi Hendrix, you know, it's the psychedelics and the music. That's what, you know, has a larger impact, you know, or I won't say larger, but more, you know, a greater impact than you just sitting down talking to one homie, even 30 people in a room. Like I do the lectures and the workshops, you got loads of people in a room, but you know, we know, you know, how music, I'm in the UK, you're where, listen to the same shit. This is the power of You know, this is the internet before the internet, you know what I'm saying? The communication, going back to man beating those first drums and brothers hearing the drums from over there and not knowing what time it is.
Catching the message.
Yeah, bro. So there's a message in the music. So let's talk on the music a little bit before we dive in there.
Yeah.
What's music for you in your life, in your world? And then if you could also include, has psychedelics had any influences, inspirations on how you perceive, interact with music now?
So what's the music that I'm vibing with right now? Yeah, that's a wild question, you know, because man, I grew up on like gangster rap, like gangster rap. Rapped out, you know, Snoop Dogg used to be my biggest fucking influence back in the day. I used to dress like Snoop Dogg. Fucking Snoop Dogg was the one. But then, you know, I had homies that are like, Snoop Dogg is fake. Listen to this motherfucker, Killer Tay, Brother Lynch, Sibo, like some real hardcore motherfuckers, you know? And so that also had an influence, and I'm like, ooh, this music is hitting hard. And so I listened to like a lot of Sacramento like music and shit growing up. And then as I transitioned to being around a lot of like white folks, you know, it was like Jimi Hendrix. I was able to like listen to Jimi Hendrix more. I started getting into like crazy ass heavy metal music. I remember one time, you know, being with the white folks, going back to visit back home, man, I was listening to like Slayer. One of my homies was like, man, you listen to devil music. Because the album was like South of Heaven or some shit. 666 was on the, he's like, you listen to devil music. And I'm just like, this music is hype as fuck, man. You ever been to a concert? You get to beat a motherfucker up without even getting in trouble. And so I listen to a lot of heavy metal and shit. Listen to like Beatles, all like the classical rock shit. I've been to fucking like Ozfest and shit. You know, I've been to all that shit. And so going through that and feeling like, I don't know, that shit had like it had like a mild influence on me, because being in that world, that's all motherfuckers really listened to was like classical rock. You turn on the radio, classical rock. Then you had like mainstream rap music, but then there wasn't really too much of like, I don't know, that music I was listening to, the hardcore like rap music, until I met some white boys from Portland that was like, we on that Mac Dre shit. And I was just like, Mac Dre. Ain't that crazy? White boys put me on the Mac Dre shit. Because it was like gangster rap, fucking classical rock. And then somebody's like, nah, Mac Dre. And I'm like, Mac Dre? Then I was like, I don't know, bro. E40? Yeah, hell yeah. Fucking E4, I'm like, E40? Hell yeah. Mac Dre? I'm like, I don't know about Mac Dre. This motherfucker put on a documentary. I said, yeah, Mac Dre. And then Mac Dre was like a fucking huge influence for like years and years and years and years.
Okay.
And so it was like Mac Dre, Mr. Fab, everything that came from that Thiz movement. I was popping Thiz all the time. And so that was a heavy influence. Then it led to me moving to Portland. And once I moved to Portland, being around like hella white people, this shit is like Europe without leaving fucking the USA. It made me cut off all the white music I was listening to, because I'm like, man, fuck all this white music. Let me tap into like my people. Let me get deep with fucking I'm really about. So it just brought back all the music I was listening to back in the day, from Brother Lynch to fucking 112 to fucking Music Soul Child to fucking even older shit like Marvin Gaye, Luther Vandross, just going through the crates of like us, black folks, gospel music, Kirk Franklin, just being like really in tune with like the music that I grew up with, and even deeper, the music that I didn't grow up with. But I was just like super black. I was like, man, everything black, and I need to just connect to all things black. Because at first I was like, yeah, white people created rock and roll, classical rock, and I was hella influenced until I started going through the crates, and I'm like, that ain't true. Elvis wasn't the fucking first rock and roll star. That's not true. And then I figured out who was, and like who influenced that person, and blues and jazz. And I'm just like, man, I'm so mad that I was influenced, that white people created all this shit. It made me really like go back and dig into like what music is, and black music, and how black folks have influenced everything we hear now to like what it is. To this day, fam. And so right now, I'm on like roots music. I'm really connected to like reggae music, and I feel like the vibration is it's just high, man. I love rap music, and right now the message is kind of like off. I ain't dogging nobody. I ain't like putting it down, but the vibration is kind of like, I feel like the powers that be know how to like, they capitalize on how that music send that message, and they promote the shit that sends messages that benefits the powers that be rather than it benefits us. But I feel like solid roots reggae music, it don't bend for Babylon. It don't bend for Babylon. It's,
Babylon, yeah.
man, burn down Babylon, more fire. And so I'm really heavy on the roots music. That's where I'm at right now. I still listen to like old school rap. I don't want to sound like an old head and shit. Like, I listen to the old shit. I don't listen to the new shit. There's some new shit because like we talked about, even in the new shit and just like the old shit, that hardcore gangster rap, there was always that one song that was conscious as fuck on their albums, that one song. And so I tend to listen to that one song that's conscious of like even the new shit. I'm like, oh yeah, that's bullshit. Ooh, that one hit. Okay, you got it in you, but you just can't put out a whole album because it ain't even gonna fly like that. But I appreciate you putting that one song in there because I'm a vibe off that one song.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
man, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So off the back of that, is there any insights that you're experiencing now with mushrooms or other psychedelics in your relationship to music? You know, going to a party back in the days, you know, sober or just off your weed and your liquor maybe, to then going and using ecstasy, going in with mushrooms, you know, or you sitting with the homies listening to music off, you know, 2 grams of mushrooms. You know, what innovations has that inspired in your life?
The innovations that the mushroom has inspired. So I feel like the biggest thing is like self-discipline right now. The mushrooms are like, yo, there's a lot of stimulations out there, a lot of things that are stimulate your fucking intelligence and your environment, and really just focus on the thing that resonates and uplifts you the most. And so that's why I feel like I'm on roots reggae music right now, because the vibration is just, it's like gospel music without like being like gospel music. And so I'm able to just resonate on the lyrics, on the beat, on the drum, on the guitar, just everything that just keeps my spirit just like on a higher level. And so the mushroom is just like, yo, focus on that and use that as a grounding tool to like root yourself and just be able to pay attention to nature, you know? And just, it's all like fight, burn, Babylon. Like, I'm all about that shit. It don't bend. And so if I'm a person that don't want to bend to Babylon, like I'm gonna have to listen and be influenced by music that ain't bending or, you know.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. So that's what the mushrooms has like translated to me, even with like other stimulations. The mushrooms done did some shit to me where, like I said, I smoke hella weed. Mushrooms told me to take a break on weed. Like take a break. Not like quit weed, but mushrooms is like, yo, you got these 2 relationships here. You got me and you got marijuana. Marijuana is very, I don't want to say territorial, but marijuana wants all your attention. Like if I'm like, yeah, I'm about to go on a hike, marijuana's like, shit, take me. If I'm like, yo, I'm about to go to the movies, marijuana's like, take me. Hey man, I'm about to get into the shower. Talk to me before you get in the shower and talk to me after you get out the shower. Yo man, I'm about to go eat. Marijuana's like, I want to eat with you. I'm like, man, I'm going to Africa. Marijuana's like, you know you taking me to Africa. And I was just like, hell yeah, come on man. You already know, like me and you was like tight. But once I started diving deep with mushrooms is like, all right, that's cool. But if you true to me, you're going to be like with me and focus on me and like give me your energy as I'm giving you my energy. And so I'm like, oh, okay. Yo, marijuana, it's hard for me to say this, but I got to put you on a little break, you know? Like just, I'll be back. But, you know, I found somebody. And so even the mushroom is like, all right, yeah, that's cool. We building. but I'm about to go down south. I'm about to go to Florida. I'll call you. And we still in a relationship, but I don't want you to cheat with nothing else. Don't do nothing. Don't go trip hopping and doing all this other shit. Wait for me. And when I come back, we'll talk. And then from there, we're going to see what happens. And so I'm on this whole like trip right now. I'm just like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? And another message, the marijuana was like, or the mushroom was like, yeah, man, learn about the tree, build your understanding or your overstanding about this tree and this squirrel. And we're going to talk about that shit when I come back as well. And so that's what I've been doing. And water, it led me to water as well. But it led me to San Pedro, the cactus, which led me to water, which led me back to the mushroom message of like, yo, you are stimulated or stimulated, and you're not focusing on the thing that will help you root yourself. And so it said the tree, the squirrel, and water, and understand me as a fungi, and then come back and we'll see what happens. So I haven't did mushrooms in like a month. And every day I'm like, man, it's today. It's like I'm calling it. It's like, hey man, what you doing? Like, you still in Florida? When you coming back? Like, you coming back anytime soon? And she's like, I'll be back. You cheating on me? And I'm like, nah, I ain't cheating on you. Like I'm still here. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. And so I've been going through that process for a while, and I'm just like, it's gonna come soon. It's gonna come soon. There's gonna be a flush. You know, I'm cultivating. There's gonna be a flush that's gonna let me know, like, this is the one right here. This is the one.
Oh, bro, you know, you're inspiring me, man. It's inspiration, and this is the slop, man. This is the slop, man. This is what I'm talking about, yeah, man. Dive deep into the slop, you know, on our own ventures, and then we're able to grow and develop off the back of that. But for me to sit here knowing my journey, what I'm on, and it's like, yo, man. And we both grew up listening to that Brother Ling Chung and that, and you're
X-rated.
Yeah, bro, it's beautiful. So like, it inspires me to look at the healing of the hood potential, you know what I'm saying? That, you know, through what we've experienced to get to this point where you're on this, you know, you're in a much better space and place, I guess, than when you was at home in California, just outside of LA, influenced by, you know, the gangs, the lifestyle, the culture, and that through this technology we get insights that enable us to become, you know, for lack of a better term, better versions of, we continue, you know, becoming. And what do you think we could become if we can bring this to the hood and, you know, bring, you know, in ways where we don't have to, as me and you said, where we don't have to pitch it, you know, it's not to sell it, but, you know, where this can be, how could this be brought in ways to the hood that, you know, this is received and other brothers can experience what we're experiencing going through this journey, just like you said, to find yourself, the squirrel, the tree, you know, I know those ones there, when you're given assignments, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's like here, and you start, you know, that's like you finding yourself, you know, and we know many of us, we're lost out here, bro, you know, we're lost finding ourselves, but we've got tools, technologies, maps, and stuff to help us get through this thing now. But some of us have got no tools whatsoever. We know where those folks are. How do we get this to these folks, man?
So yeah, I feel like the mushrooms, when we get this, some people see it as like a medicine. And so when I say a medicine, you know, anything could like be seen as like medicine, you know. Nature could be seen like a form of medicine. Plants, fungi, some people say animals, some people say like drugs, or I don't know, there's a lot of shit going on right now. But for me, the fungi is like a medicine that connects me or reconnects me to that original state of being, that could communicate with all things just by being who I was created to be. You know, I feel like we all got purpose out here. We weren't just created to just be walking around aimless, lost, or confused. Like when I say, look at the squirrel was created for a reason. Not just to be a little squirrel running from tree to tree, fucking doing all this shit. But if you look at that relationship between the tree and the squirrel and the tree, both of them give to each other. And I'm like, well, am I excluded from that conversation of like, how do they give to each other? Like, where do I fit in that? You know, because you see the squirrel grab a nut from the tree, go dig, fucking hide the nut, fucking go grab more nuts. And so for me, I'm like, that squirrel is kind of like spreading that tree's like lineage and like legacy. Like it's keeping that going. And then the tree provides like food, protection, safety, housing for the squirrel. And they love each other. They live fucking in coexistence. And so I'm like, well, where do I fit in that? How do I? And it's almost the same thing. If I go eat some fruit from a tree, I could build that same relationship because I'm getting the seeds from the fruit. I'm digesting it. That shit goes into my shit. And if I so chose to, I go shit in the dirt somewhere. And the fucking seeds will be able to sprout from my offering back to like the soil. And so from there, I have a desire to like protect the trees or to make sure like the trees are able to exist and provide the knowledge and the teachings that they were created to do. You know, the trees provide like an air support. Like I breathe out peace, I breathe in love from the tree. And it's like vice versa, you know? The tree breathes in peace and breathes out love to me. And so mushrooms have influenced that like insight. And then when I think about fungus and I think about water, I think about like the beginning on how like water is like everything. Water created chaos on earth, but then order came from that. From like this interaction of like water, fungus, rock, soil, boom. Everything that came from that to the tree being like, yo man, I'm a tree, but how can I spread my shit? Animals. And then like we're part of that animal kingdom and shit. And it's all this like divine design from like creation, the creator, like however you want to see it, the most high. And so being able to like tap into that is like very empowering. It makes you see Babylon for what Babylon is. And from there you like, all right, what do I need to do to burn down Babylon? Like, what is my purpose? How do I fit into this shit? And it's not like I'm about to just go light a building on fire, but nah, it's about if I'm seeing myself as like a water drop, how do I find more water drops to form a river? And this river fucking gets this technology out to the people to form like shit. Just power, bro. A river is powerful and it's always moving. The river got information, it got energy, it got ancient wisdom, and we all got that inside of us. It's all there in us, but we just got to reconnect to that. And once we reconnect to that, I just feel lighter. I just feel like I'm able to navigate the earth and have conversations and interact just like way differently than I did before. You know, a lot of the stress and the anxiety and like the fears. Man, Babylon does a good job of providing stimulants to like make all this like true and manifest inside yourself. And if you see it for like, man, they are really holding me down with all this like fear, anxiety, stress, trauma, you could be easily controlled by that message. You kind of feel like there's not a lot out here for you. There's not anything, but I'm like, there's abundance. There's abundance of mycelium. There's abundance of fungi, mushroom, trees, fruit from the trees. Just abundance is real. And when you have abundance and you believe in an abundance and see it, man, that equals like choice. And when you understand abundance, that's like giving. Like give. And like the tree gives, and it receives at the same time. And when you have choice, bro, that's like freedom. Freedom is choice. Instead of having this like traumatic, fear-driven, anxiety-driven, stress-driven way of seeing things, you just like want to hoard. You want to protect like whatever you got, and you don't want to like open up and like give and shit. And from there, you're easily able to be controlled. And so for me, it's like a form of like freedom. Like what Bob Marley say, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. And I feel like connecting to this technology is like emancipating my mind to be able to think freely and create freedom in like my earthly plane, you know, and be a steward to this fucking life, man, to this existence. Being in collaboration with the fucking bees and the birds and the life, bro.
That's a gardener, bro.
That's the
guardian, you know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Steward, I feel you.
And then from there, it's tapping into the universe. Like you connect to all things from there. And then yeah, bro, it's just like life, man.
So we're gonna spread these spores organically and get it out there in ways, music, outreach, you know what I'm saying? Sitting down doing nothing, you know, it's all part of being an example. You know, all these are ways that we get the information out there. People in their own time, in their own season, deciding if they want to partake in this without having to sell it. I really do think that's important. But you do have the house.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. The house of Jahsiri.
Mm-hmm.
And you have put yourself out there, you know, in the public, you know, access in Portland, identifying that our people should access this space, you know what I'm saying? So what has your experience been like in engaging folks here, you know, on the ground?
So far it's been pretty good, you know, because man, your support is like, man, it's like a gift. It's like so affirming, like, because how I got involved with like reconnecting and answering that call or feeling like, okay, I've been chosen to like do this shit was when I was reconnected to mushroom. And that was through one of my homies, black homie here in Portland, being like, yo, let's go on the river, let's float the river. And he's like, I got these mushrooms, you want to do these mushrooms as we float the river? And I'm just like, yeah, bro, it's been a minute since I've done mushrooms, because I went through this transition where, let's say 2013, where I became like this grassroots organizer, revolutionary, and I wasn't doing like none of this shit. I was like, revolution is the only drug that I need. And so it kind of had me on like a different like tunnel vision. But then let's say 2018 is when I got reintroduced, floating the river, and I'm just like, whoa, I forgot. I really forgot. And I'm on the river. I feel like I'm connecting to everything. The people that are around me were connecting to like the words that I was saying and the vibe I was putting out. And so a few months later, he's like, let's go camping. We go camping, we do mushrooms again. Somebody's like, I think it was my partner. She's like, what does it feel like to be on mushrooms? And the way I explain the shit, everybody's like, yeah, bro, you gave voice to that. And I'm like, yeah, that's right on, man. You said it. Then I'm like, yeah, man, this feels so good. I wish like my life could align with mushrooms and it could just be a part of my lifestyle. And so from that day camping, my partner and I left the campsite and went on a road trip, because that was the plan. And we down in Oakland. I'm doing my thing. I'm posting pictures at the Vegan Mob, just places in Oakland. And somebody from Santa Barbara hit me up like, yo, bro, I see you in Oakland. Like, what you doing? Like, come visit me. And this is the same trip. After I said, I want mushrooms to be a part of my life, he's like, yo, I grow mushrooms. I got these dogs. And I'm like, you grow mushrooms? Like, you grow mushrooms? And I'm just like, bro, let's connect, because I just put this out there to the universe. And so he comes, he shows me a video, he gives me this grain bag, and he's like, boom, this is you. And I'm just like, whoa, this shit crazy. And so I come back to Portland, and I'm like, what do I do with this grain bag? What do I do with this shit? I'm watching the video. Then I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm kind of learning. And still I'm like, don't nobody that look like me besides my bro. Like, where do I go with this shit? Then my sister Laquita sent me your video. It was a Talking Slop video. I think it was with Kambata. And then from there, I'm just like, I just dive deep, 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 deep. And I'm just like, whoa, okay. It gets deeper. Let me see how deep it goes. And then I started going deeper with my journeys, more intentional with building that relationship, seeing the tubs that I was growing from those videos, like being like more intentional about that relationship. And then I'm just like, okay, this is deep. This is amazing. I want to interact with this brother, you, one day. I want to work with this brother. I want this brother to be in Portland, and I want to see like what that could look like. And in this time, I'm deepening this relationship with mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, even like the mushrooms that I eat. Because like you mentioned before, you like pizza. And I was like, how'd you know? That was like my first experience with mushrooms too. It was like on a pizza or in the salad that came with the pizza. And so I'm just like, damn, that is true. Then I'm like, well, what do mushrooms taste like now? And so going deeper with that shit. But then as I'm getting this knowledge and this know-how and this like wisdom and knowledge, or wisdom, I said knowledge, I'm connecting with people that I'm like, yo, bro, I'm having these experiences. Like, yo, man, this mushroom thing, like, bro, we need to connect. Or just outside of mushrooms, I'm like, yo, bro, I see you a lot around community events. My brother Quele, I'm like, I'm seeing you. Let's connect. And then one day he's like, let's go on a hike. And I'm like, okay, cool, man, let's go on a hike. And so on this hike, he asked me, what am I doing? And I said, bro, I'm doing mushrooms and hanging out with my dog. And I do mediations. So I do mediations and restorative justice, like conflict resolution. That's something that I do. That's like my work is mediations and restorative, transformative conversations, facilitations. And so I'm telling him about my thing, and he's like, yeah, man, I want to try that. Or I'm interested in this mushroom thing. So I'm like, okay, cool, bro. Come to my house. I showed him the tubs. I showed him the grain. I showed him the spore syringe. And I showed him like the fruit. Then I'm like, yo, man, these are microdose pills. And then he was just like slowly but surely like, okay, how many microdose pills do I need to do? Yeah, you hearing this message? How many microdose pills do I need to do? What does a bigger dose look like? And I'm just like, yo, take these, try this out, whatever works for you. And then come back when you're ready to do a dose. And then he hit me up and said, yo, March 1st, 2020, he's like, I want to try. I want to do it. All right, what's up, man? And then I was like, cool, bro, you want to do it in my living room, your living room, go to the park? Like, he's like, I'll come to your house. And so I sat bro down and I was like, all right, I like to lemon tech. Lemon tech is my thing. I pull up with a lemon. I pull up with a lemon. Yeah. And so from there, hold on. Let me tap in after this interview. So after that, like I sat with him, and then during this sitting, this bro was channeling divine messages. Like I felt like I was talking to God, or God was talking to me. I wasn't even talking back. I'm just listening like, oh, you here too, huh? Look, they feeling the message.
Yeah, I was saying.
And so I'm just like, dang, like, I'm looking around like, damn, this brother talking to me. I'm looking at him like, do you know what you're saying? And he's just boom. And I'm just like, whoa, like, what is going on? And then when he finally comes back, he's like, wow, that was amazing. He was like, that was cool. I wish I could remember it. And I'm like, well, as a mediator, when I do mediations, I can hear what people are saying, and then I kind of reflect it back to them to make sure everybody involved knows what's going on. And so as he was talking to me, I just started memorizing everything. And I'm like, I can say it back to you without adding any words. Like, this is not me saying what you said. I'm going to say it exactly how you said it to me. And so I started just being like, yo, bro, you said this, you said that. You were like, you started out by saying like, man, you're like the water and you about to take me under. But then I could pop my head out and I could float, or I could panic. And then he started out with that, and I'm just like, whoa, the water, huh? Then I started reminding him of what he was saying. He was like, oh yeah. And then this happened. And then it led to this and then this. He was like, brother, we need to get this out to more people. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of like what you were saying when you was in there, but I'm glad that you could remember that now. And he was like, yeah, brother, like, I don't know what you need to do, but you need to get this out to more people. And based off of our conversation that we had before he went under, because, you know, I had like a little pre-conversation with him to just like get him to trust me more, to trust the process more. And in that pre-conversation, we were just talking about like a name. I forget how the name came up, but we were talking about Jahsiri, the name. Like, I'm trying to think about how we were talking about the name Jahsiri and what it meant, but after he did that and went home, I was just thinking about it the whole night. It never left me. I was just stuck. That's all I could think about is like, what's next? What is next? How do I integrate what I just got from his experience into like my life? Usually it's about like helping them integrate their shit. But I'm like, I feel like there's more than just like me being like, all right, bro, like this is your shit, boom, boom, boom. Call me, I feel like there was more there. And so I called him the next day, like, yo, bro, just checking in, seeing how you doing. And he's like, yeah, bro, it's still sitting with me. I feel like I met myself for the first time. This is amazing. And I was like, well, what does this sound like? The house of Jahsiri. Like, we talked about this. Like, the house of Jahsiri is like how we could get this message out. Because Jahsiri means like, you know, Jah, the Most High. And then city in Kiswahili means like secret. So when I met the mushroom, I'm like, yo, this is God's secret. Like, tapping into this is whoa. He's been holding this back, waiting for the right time to like whisper it into my ear to be like, yo. And so, but when you put them together, Jahsiri means like bravery, like courage. Like Jahsiri, like, yo, be brave, be courageous in your actions. And then he was like, yes. He was like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he was like, yes, that's it. And so from there, man, it's just been a mission to, and this is before I knew about, when I reconnected to mushrooms, I really didn't know that there was like this Measure 109 and shit was like about to be legal or any of that. But then as I started doing research, I found a group called like Fruit and Bodies, and they were like advocating for like Measure 109, getting education out, telling people what Measure 109 was. So I was like, oh, okay, there's a thing popping up in Oregon. But then as I'm paying attention to that, I'm like, that don't seem like it's for us. That's not, we not gonna have access to that, just like we ain't never had access to anything. But to be like these bottom consumers, the thing that keeps it going. And so in my mind, I'm like, I got a mission to get this out. I need to get this to my people. And then from there, it was like, well, how do I do that? How do I get this message out? And so it was like slowly for surely, like, well, I got it to my bro, and I got it to him by introducing him to the process, you know, building that relationship so he trusted me. And so from there, I'm like, well, brother, you ready to do this with me? Because like you the testimony to like what it can do. And so we named the House of Jahsiri. And one way to create, and for us, it's like to create that access for our people to be able to tap into this medicine. And one way that gets around, like, and this is just to be honest, you know, like Measure 109 is the legalization of psilocybin mushrooms, but in a licensed clinic. Like your clinic got to be licensed by the Oregon Health Authority to be able to administer mushrooms in like a therapeutic way. And so I'm like, okay, that's cool, but that ain't for us. And then, like I said before, man, I really been in, like, I was raised in religion. I went to Haiti and I was like turned on by like voodoo. You know, I've been paying attention like Buddhism and like the Nation of Islam and like all sorts of like religious, spiritual things. And then I read that much like plant medicines have churches. And I was like, well, if plant medicines have churches, like, what does that look like? Why do they do their thing? How do they operate? Then I'm like, okay, like that's cool, but it's more about access for me. Like, you know, I'm not really trying to like lead no like sermons or anything. I'm just trying to create access and make it so it's safe and accessible and people could bravely walk into this. And so I started looking up religion and the freedom to practice religion and how ayahuasca churches form because it's their religion. And so I'm like, why can't it look the same for like mushrooms? Like, I believe in the mushrooms that much. Like, why can't it be, how can I create this access for people to be able to tap into it like folks do ayahuasca and San Pedro and all the other things. And so I started looking deeper. I reached out to Zydor and I was like, yo, what's your process look like? He sent me some Supreme Court documents about like court cases people have went through. I started reading those and I was like, well, need be, yo, this is a religion. If it's gonna provide safe space for us to be able to tap into, I'm like, yeah, this is our religion. House of Jahsiri is our church. This is our religion. And so this is how we about to tap in. We're gonna educate folks around what it looks like, what psilocybin is, what mycelium is, what the fruit looks like. You can go foraging, you can grow, and just education, breaking down those stereotypes and those stigmatisms. And then from there, I'm like, how can we invite folks like yourself, bro, like brothers that's been in the game, brothers that got that knowledge and who move wise from that knowledge? How can we introduce like you to the people? Because I know what it did for me to like hear your words and see how you were moving in this world based off of like your relationship with mushrooms. And that was very like influential. And then you introduced me to Baba Kalinde, EE. And I was just like, whoa. Then I was looking at Baba Kalinde, I was like, dang, brother, transition. But then I was like, this brother is right here. So I started tapping into all your little workshops. I think you said I used to go to the same workshop over and over, like, bro, it's me. Just trying to build that rapport. And so, man, we did a couple of events already together. And it's just about education, bro. It's just about getting that knowledge out so that we can see people that look like us, that are, you know, normal people, normal brothers that's just out here living, that listen to rap music, that shit know about the streets, you know, that can interact with non-black people. And how could we just normalize the use of mushrooms to establish that thing where we can reconnect our people to just that, our stewardship, you know, our guardianship of like this earth and shit. And so the House of Jahsiri was born from all of that, like creating a safe, accessible space for us to be able to tap into this medicine, this fungi medicine. And so that's what we out here doing, man.
For sure.
So introducing it to more people. One of my brothers was like, man, I can't believe I've been late on this. Like, you've been telling me and I'm late. And I'm like, you right on time, bro. Like, and he's like, man, I got to unpack some shit going through my journey. And I'm like, man, I don't know if you know, but you are giving me so much. Like, you think I gave you the thing? But I'm like, your testimony is like filling my heart right now because this is all I want to do. And so it's just like doing that, bro. Just getting it out there to people that look like us, people that resist, people that's like, that's that white boy shit, that's for white people, that's poison, that's this. That's who I want to reach. That's who we want to reach. That's what we're trying to reach. I mean, it's cool to be with people that have dabbled and done this stuff, but I want to reach the people who are like, nah, not me. And then have those conversations like, why?
I should. Yeah, let's do this.
Let's do this.
Oh, man. Bro, there's a lot there. I'm touched. But first, I want to say I'm proud of you, bro. As bro to bro, I'm proud, man. Straight up. Because I know what it takes, you know, just from the outside observing my heroes, the people that inspired me before I decided to do whatever I decided to do. But you, if I was a younger, you would be somewhere be like, yo, you see this brother here? You see this brother here? And knowing behind the scenes now, like when I saw Brother Kalinde, as you mentioned, rest in peace, bro, but I know you're doing what you do.
Yes, sir.
After having the mushroom experience, I'm like, oh shit, this is what you're doing. This is what you're putting people onto, yeah? Oh shit, yeah. How can I have your back? How can I have your back here? And I honestly felt that energy from you, bro. Seeing, as at the early stage, just seeing your face in that place and space, innit? And I didn't know who you was, what you was getting up to, what you was planning and plotting. Little did I know, we'll be sitting here today doing what we're doing. But to know that, I know where that starts from, bro, and don't stop, just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, I'm here to support in whatever capacity I can, and will continue to, you know what I'm saying? I'm plugged in different ways, but the mission, as you say it, bro, it's like, shit, man. That's why I decided one day to step out, because most of the people that I was engaging with is, keep that shit over there. And I'm like, this is the mission. You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy to turn the mission into a mission and adventure. You know what I'm saying? Have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't need to be a serious one. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't need to be a competitive one.
Nah, abundance.
Yeah, there you go. Right. You said it. So I'm looking forward to reaching those places and spaces that other people ain't comfortable going, maybe, where we can find those brothers in the hoodies, brothers with the grills, sisters out there twerking, making it happen, all of that good vibes, all them good energies there, and putting them on to game, you know. I feel I'm a part of it. I know you're a part of it. I know we're connected to people that are part of this through the music and other angles, but I'm just proud to be a part of your world in Portland and just be stewarded and guarded as a guardian by yourself, man. I feel very comfortable here, bro, with you, man. I just wanted to let you know that, man.
Man, give thanks, bro. I'm telling you, your guidance means like a lot, bro. I'm like here for you as well, like whatever it takes. Because along with all those people, you know, the brothers with the hoodies, the grills, the twerkers, the go-getters, the hustlers, man, even my family. Because, you know, I was carrying a lot, and I still carry a little bit of like generational trauma. And so I want to see if the mushrooms can provide the same feeling for like maybe my mom or my sister or my father. My aunt got dementia, man. She only 50. I want to see like, could it kind of reverse or do something for her, you know? Because like we all need this, and I want it to be closer to home so that we feeling like a family. I told you we're a spiritual family. And so it's not just out externally, but like internally for me as well. And just hearing stories, you know, about how you navigate and maneuver and make that happen for your people, man, that's very inspirational. And I'm like, it's possible. I'm like, it's possible. And so I'm talking to my mom slowly all the time about like just unpacking her shit, letting go of that sense of control and just stepping into that place of vulnerability. So her and I can have some interactions and conversations that feel lighter than they feel right now, you know?
Yeah, man, everything in its season, man.
Yes,
So you've tapped on it a few times, and you know, in the therapeutic setting, in the medical field, it's definitely been expressed that psychedelics can help with mental health, anxiety, depression, and you referenced earlier on, you know, basically for a large portion of your life, maybe up to 18, you was definitely in that environment where you had to be extra vigilant on your P's and Q's 24/7, which may have created mental health challenges, you know, and we navigate them in different ways. Some of them, we navigate them in different ways. But how do you feel psychedelics can basically support our people with potential mental health challenges that are bespoke, that are unique to our experience, whether it's here in America, you know, in the UK, in the Caribbeans, or even back home on the motherland, on the continent?
The ways I feel like the fungi can help us with our mental health, it supports our mental healing, you know, like going deep and having like a different insight onto like who you are and like the experiences that we grew up in, and being able to like forgive ourselves for like choices we may have made, forgiving others for choices they made that impacted us, and just being able to like have moments of feeling like light, like everything ain't so heavy, like you ain't carrying the world on your shoulder. It just gives them moments of like clarity. Like not all of them are easy. Like I go through some experience where my journey is deep, you know? It goes like deep, like I'm just like, damn, I'm like crying and shit, but the cries turn into laughters because at the same time I'm like, oh, this shit crazy. Like I laugh about it because I'm like, oh shit, I just had this unpacking, and I'm like, I start laughing about what I'm going through at the moment, and I'm just like, okay, I was able to let that go because it just, my being able to like see myself go through this was able to be like, oh, all right, damn, I feel lighter from that. Like maybe I need to call somebody, maybe I need to, you know, make more time for myself, maybe I need to get rid of a lot of stimulants that are distracting me from doing what I could be doing to like improve my sense of self, you know? And so that's what a big part of it is for like me, you know? Yeah, man. Just like taking time to be more self-disciplined, you know? Finding out like that purpose and being like definite in that purpose and moving from that. Learning from your past experiences, like tapping into like that diversity, or that tapping into the adversity that you face to like come out stronger, man. If the world's holding you down and you fucking pushing back up, you building muscle. Like when you do push-ups, man, you becoming stronger, you know, from all that heaviness that's like weighing you down. And so like, what do you do with that strength? After you like look up one day, you're like, man, I'm strong as fuck from this adversity. Like, how do you move forward? Yeah, man, just those stimulants, bro. Babylon had you so stimulated, you lose yourself.
So as you're saying that, it just made me think, and that's just something that everybody needs, you know? At the end of the day.
Everybody.
Everybody needs that, man.
Yeah, and just studying yourself, getting to know yourself more, and like the things that make you go, the things you love, the things you like, the things that impact you negatively, the things that make you feel like uplifted and positive, like taking time to like learn that about yourself is important, because then you start to love yourself. And once you start to love yourself, you can like move with that love throughout like the world. You start looking at your brother differently. You start looking at other people differently. You start to be able to like forgive in ways you never thought you'd be able to like forgive. And then that just creates like a lighter, it's like for me, a lighter me and shit, you know? Like even though I forgive somebody, that don't mean I might like rock with them or fuck with them. Like I just forgive you, and like I'm gonna just put that on you. But now I'm gonna live like this. I'm gonna live light. I'm not carrying that with me and shit.
Love that, man.
Yes,
Bro, like I'd love to chop it up, because there's a few other places that I could go, and we will go. I'll tap into one before we leave. But again, I just appreciate the sharing, man. Like when I think of, you know, what I do, it's like it's why you do what you do.
Yes,
you know, and it's like these barriers, you know, whether they're geographical barriers, social barriers, it really has allowed for me, like I said, just to allow those to lighten the load, so you can move lighter to move forward. So I just feel really blessed to be sitting there chopping it up, just knowing. I say that just to say, bro, because many times I feel like throwing in the towel, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, if it comes down to it, bro, we're talking about mumsies, brothers and sisters. There's like work that as individuals we need to be dealing with. You know, I know you got a new arrival up in the building, you know what I'm saying? So like, but we're out here, you're out here doing that, and it's just like amazing to think and feel that it starts off in a room on the internet, reading a book, you know, listening to a song, to be doing this work and just seeing mirrors, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
man.
Yeah, don't throw the towel, bro. Like, yeah, many times it's like, yeah, like for the masses, for the people, you know, but oh yeah, there's a community out there, man.